does anyone actually believe that there is a social media that will actually have free speech? I and so many people have been fooled before, and I refuse to be fooled again. Just when they're doing something great, they manage to find a way to completely screw it up. I made a video a while back talking about how the social media exodus is a risk because there are still loads of people using Twitter and many other mainstream social media for purposes other than politics. I will only be in other social media alternatives like Minds in case something happened to my main social media, or at least as long as mine stopped spreading BS. And you're telling me that there is another one.
No, God!
No, I refuse. I refuse to entertain this notion. Every single time some new social media pops up and it promises free speech, there is always a catch. There is always a catch, and they will eventually reveal that they're just about as puritanical as the social media that they desperately try to be, or even something worse. So why should I sign up to them? Why should I give my information to them? There's a phrase that people love to throw around, especially during the Audacity debacle, which I talk about in another video. If a product is free, you are the product. This might not be true to a lot of softwares and apps out there, or at least it shouldn't be true, but it is definitely true to social media. Seriously, let's take a step back for a moment. How many social media have you been using this whole time? How many activities do you think that those social media record from you? How well do these social media know you as a person? I use Twitter quite a lot. I want to stay tuned with the latest hot takes, no matter how much sanity I lost in the process. I got so desensitized with bad Twitter takes, it's actually entertaining to see all the bad takes that people have. Not to mention, I do like myself some 18+ content, and there are loads of artists producing 18+ content there that I like. Twitter knows the kind of things that I like based on the tweets that I like. Twitter knows the kind of things that I'm talking about based on the things that I talked about. Oh sure, I can turn off all of these anti-privacy stuff in my account settings, but what if it's just the UI that says that it's off, but in reality it's actually on this whole time? And to use all sorts of social media, I have email accounts. Those aren't exactly social media, but they definitely count as a communications media, and you do need them to log in to your social media. This is especially true to Google. There are loads of activities that are recorded on Google. Google knows a lot of things about you. Google saves a lot of information about you. That's why they can figure out that you were looking for some degenerate duckies. All it needs for you is to feed them with the filthy search results that will make the robots puke. And even if you use DuckDuckGo to search your stuff, if you log into using a Google account to, I don't know, Amazon, they too can find out information from all of your activities. Even if you switch to something like ProtonMail, which is a very private and secure email provider, or at least for the average user, the websites that you have accounts for will still know the kind of things that you like. If you use Android, you need to use Gmail, and if you haven't configured it correctly, your phone can send data of your locations and where you've been for the past couple of days directly to Google. Same goes to Apple. To put it simply, you're already dead. The longer you've been on the internet, the more active you are on the internet, the more information that a lot of big tech companies know about you. And they will continue to know more about you the more you stay on these websites and feed them data. A lot of the issues on privacy is not just companies being invasive, it's you, the users, for handing out these companies free information for them to be sold to the highest bidder and tailored so that they can spam all sorts of ads for you. And unfortunately, you're gonna have to deal with it, especially during this increasingly digital times and people are working at home. Thankfully, it's not all doom and gloom though. I've already linked a couple of articles in how you can protect your privacy with the best of your abilities. If you haven't checked your email and see if it was in any of the recent data leaks, please do check it out on Have I Been Pawned, link down below, and change the password of the compromised accounts immediately. Otherwise, people will be able to figure out how to get inside your accounts and all of your significantly more confidential information are taken away from you. And even then, what you shared on the internet, they will always remember, which is why you should be very careful in what you share in the World Wide Web. Now, when the big tech themselves got loads and loads of information on you, just on the mere fact that you're doing these online activities yourself, and thanks to our current year pandemic where we are forced to use more digital stuff, do you really think that it's a good idea to hand over more information to even more social media apps, especially one that proclaims to have more free speech and is cancel free? Anyone should look at those kinds of promises and think, that's a load of BS. Why? Because it's bait. These new social media are inviting you to say all sorts of things so that they can have something to be used against you. And if it's not them, it's other people who would really love to cancel you. And they don't even have to go deep. They just give you a platform to talk anything that can get you canceled. A public platform that anyone can access, no less. These people are handing you a gun and telling you to shoot yourself in the foot. Unfortunately, some people already did. Introducing Gettr. What the hell is Gettr, you might ask? Gettr is a brand new social media app made by Trump's former team. The mission is advertised as fighting cancel culture, promoting common sense, defending free speech, challenging social media monopolies, and creating a true marketplace of ideas. Pressing the X button yet? You really should. Funnily enough, the first time I've heard about this new social media app is thanks to browsing Twitter, and someone was talking about how this supposedly cancel-free app was banning certain individuals for criticizing a CCP agent. So I looked up on who the guy is and... This is hilarious. The app is actually funded early on by a Chinese billionaire fugitive named Miles Guo. It turns out he was the alleged CCP agent that got criticized by the banned user. He's actually very critical towards China, actually to the point where he's wanted in that country. But still, say what you want about Twitter. At least you can make fun of Jack Dorsey's stupid beard. This screams quite the cancellation to me, which is interesting for a website claiming to be defending free speech and fighting against cancel culture. But it gets worse. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it gets worse. Their source code was found and leaked into the open. Their admin page lets them to add and remove trending topics. Certain influencers have certain features enabled specifically for them. They encrypt the user's password on the client side, which is basically like, as one user said, buying a padlock, locking your doors, and then taping the key into the padlock. And thanks to its poor security, guess what happened? The social media got hacked at launch. Granted, they can only change the username of the hacked accounts, but it's still a worrying prospect when your app got hacked on day one. But oh boy, out of all the hooplas on this brand new social media website, you might not be prepared for this. They are spammed, and I mean spammed with hentai. I mean 18 plus anime content, YouTube, please don't demonetize me. And if you're the Sonic kind of degenerate, then you're in luck, because Gettr has loads of Sonic 18 plus content just for you to consume, optionally featuring Shadow and Mario for some reason. All of them are spam in the quiet launch day of the website at the 1st of July. Can this get any better? Oh yes, it can. Their top popular user is a stock photo, because of course it is, but let's stop right there for now. I mean, I get it. You had some nice intentions. People are being banned and canceled left and right for their opinions in the popular social media. Free speech is under the threat of the big tech social media monopoly that likes to control everyone's speech and opinions. So it's no surprise that loads of people want to find a safe haven for them to actually be able to share their opinions. That's fine and all, but the problem is, due to the way our technology works, you can't trust anything these days. There are loads of corporations and organizations out there that would really love to capitalize on your desperation and your desire of wanting to speak whatever you want. I don't think you should trust these things. They smell like bait to me, and unfortunately, a lot of times they are. And at worst, they're there to bait you into saying all sorts of heinous stuff so that you are much easier to cancel. And let's say that they aren't, and they are legit. As I said in my video, everyone else is not jumping into your alternative social media. Only the people who are aware of the culture that they're facing are doing that. People on the whole world use social media for more than just politics. They play video games, they watch films, they play music and talk about music. There are so many things that people do that are not political related, but a lot of these alternative social media platforms are always talking about politics, which is fine, but it's not everyone's cup of tea, and it's certainly not going to be a welcoming atmosphere for people who just want to stay away from big tech suspension. And you absolutely do need everyone else. Oh sure, you have the lunatics from one side whom you cannot convince no matter what you do, but there are many other people who are still hanging on the big popular social media websites that are still unaware of the kind of toxic culture that's been festering social media as of late. It is absolutely possible for you to be on Twitter and innocently post your artworks 18 plus or not, only to find out that people are spamming your mentions because you didn't draw the character's skin color correctly. This has happened many times from both sides. There are many Twitter artists who got harassed and cancelled because their artworks are problematic to some Twitter lunatics. lunatics. Some even go so far as to apologize, even though they did nothing wrong. Some even quit social media entirely, which reduces the engagement towards their artworks. And sad to say this to everyone, but this kind of deplatforming can work. I'm not saying it works all the time, but it can work towards certain people. These people are still on Twitter, not because they want to deal with the lunatics, but because they want to share their artworks for people to love and appreciate. They just so happen to be on the same building as the lunatics. All they want is to share their hobbies and passion to millions of other people on the website. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that they are not aware that the website is filled with lunatics because they're not as well versed in the whole discourse as we are. They don't know the stuff that we're talking about. They think that social media is an all wonderful and innocent place until reality hits them and they are confronted with the worst of the worst kinds of people. An alternative social media to these people won't be enough for many reasons. It's not just because they won't have the same reach. It's also because there aren't enough people that they follow that migrated in there. Keep in mind that to a lot of people, social media isn't just for posting. They want to browse what people are talking about, and the timeline is only as good as the people that they follow. People don't want to go to an alternative social media that mostly consists of people talking about politics all the time. I don't want to talk about politics all the time, which is why I'm frequent on Twitter, because there are loads more people who don't talk about politics there compared to any other alternative social media. There are content creators that I like that talk about films, video games, tech, and all sorts of entertainment. They are on Twitter. They don't know a thing or two about these alternative social media. That's fine. I'm just saying that if they're not jumping the ship and they're not willing to, then I won't be there as well. I just see no point in doing it, especially the fact that I have to hand over more information, and not to mention more information that might get me banned in other platforms. I feel like there will be no such thing as a free speech social media, because social media are bound by restrictions and will have to be bound by restrictions in order to be able to have the website hosted. It's not just the restrictions on how you say your opinions, it's also the restrictions on what you can say. Gap doesn't allow 18 plus stuff straight up, and they love to be on a crusade for it. Minds doesn't allow specific 18 plus stuff. Gettr doesn't allow people criticizing one of its investors. Parler, the new one that people talk about last year, lets 18 plus stuff but have some of the dodgiest privacy and apparently even stricter rules. For the record, this isn't about left or right politics. This is about safety. In this digital space dominated by corporations, there is no way in hell you're ever gonna be free. Not even the chant boards or the anonymous forums are free. You're not free of speaking out and expressing yourself, and you're not free of digital monitoring. Welcome to the digital age, ladies and gentlemen, where corporations are giving you all sorts of free digital products and conveniences in exchange for your personal information, and you practically stripping yourself in front of them.